Yukon, Purdue. Two teams that will be playing in the national championship game. What an exciting matchup it will be for college basketball. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about the 2024 March Madness National Championship game, as it is #1 ranked Purdue going up against #1 ranked UConn. Purdue's run to the national championship game came in unexpected fashion, as they have been known to be frauds in the past during their previous March Madness runs. However, UConn's run to the national championship game has come in dominant fashion, as they have been blowing out teams constantly during their March Madness run. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. Who will win the national championship game, Purdue or UConn? Are you kidding me? Is this even a real question? Of course, I'm going with UConn for winning the national championship this season. Why am I saying this? Because of the fact that UConn has been really good all season long. And not only have they been really good, they've been really dominant all year long. There's a reason why they've been dominating every game in the March Madness tournament so far. That's because they're a really good basketball team. Their starting five is excellent all the way through. They don't have any weaknesses in their starting lineup whatsoever. They might not have a guy that scores a lot of points for their team, but they're very well rounded. They have guys that can score the basket at any given time on the floor consistently. They are a great basketball team in general, and they know how to play team basketball pretty effectively. You look at how Tristan Newton has played efficient basketball for UConn this year as well. You look at how Cam Spencer has done a pretty good job for UConn as well. Then you look at Donovan, Clingan, the guy that I believe is the best player on their team. He's had an efficient year as well. Then you look at Stephon Castle. He's also been really good as well in terms of shooting the basketball from the floor. He might not be the most efficient three-point shooter, but he's plenty efficient. Then of course you got that Caravan guy. He's a pretty solid forward. He's been their all-around player. He's been playing good defense. He's been shooting the basketball really effectively. He spaces the floor particularly well. And I know that UConn's bench isn't particularly strong, but when you got a starting five of Tristan Newton, Cam Spencer, Alex Caravan, Donovan Clingan, and Stephon Castle, I'm telling you what, man, they are a really good basketball team, and it's really hard to stop their starting five, particularly when they are all on fire. And as for Purdue, as far as what they have to do in order to win this game, it's going to be really hard for them to win. But if they want to win, they're going to have to hope that Zach Edey will have a legendary game for Purdue. Zach Edey has been a double-double machine for Purdue this year, and he's been balling out in this year's tournament. Obviously, he's been their best player for sure. He's like Rudy Gobert, but with better shooting. Anytime I compare you to Rudy Gobert, that means you're really good on the defensive end of the floor, and of course, you can dominate in the paint as well. And like I say, he's really good at scoring points in the paint, and when you got a guy that can score on offense and play really good defense as a rim protector, that tells me that you're going to be one of the better centers in all of college basketball. And obviously, if you're Purdue, you have to rely on Zach Edey in order to get the job done. Now, as far as their other players, they've got Braden Smith. He's their second best player. He doesn't necessarily score a lot of points, but he passes the basketball pretty efficiently as well. You look at how he's averaging 7.5 assists per game. Anytime you got a guy averaging that many assists a game in college basketball, that tells me that he's moving the basketball quite efficiently and that he's making the correct reads on the basketball court. And obviously, a guy like Braden Smith is going to have to step up his game tonight. Not only will he have to pass the basketball efficiently, he's going to have to actually score some points tonight. He's going to have to play really good basketball, and if he can be a great number 2 option for Purdue, then they might have a chance against UConn, even though I highly doubt that UConn is going to let him get going early and often. If anything, they're going to try to shut down his playmaking early and often in order to make this a one-man show. And they know that if it's Zach Edey alone carrying this Purdue team, Purdue has no shot against UConn. There's a reason why UConn has won every game in the March Madness tournament by at least 10 points. That's because of the fact that they are really good from top to bottom, and that their starting five is on fire, and that they play cohesively as a team together. So when you got a guy like Zach Edey that can carry a team for Purdue, but you don't have the supporting cast around Zach Edey in order to beat a great team like UConn, you're probably not going to win more often than not. That's just the reality of the situation. Then of course you look at some of their other players for Purdue. They've got Lance Jones and they got Fletcher Lawyer, who are solid role players for Purdue, but trust me, they're going to have to play better than role players in order to beat UConn tonight. Am I confident that's going to happen? Hell no, I'm not confident that it's going to happen. I think those guys are good at shooting the 3-ball, but they're going to need to do more than just shooting the 3-ball pretty efficiently. They're going to need to keep scoring buckets early and often, and not only that, they're going to have to play some defense on UConn, because if you don't play defense against UConn, you're not going to beat them. It's as simple as that. Of course, Purdue is not really well-rounded top to bottom. They're a solid basketball team, but they're not really a great basketball team all around together. They are more of a Zach Edey kind of team. It's more of a one-man show. Obviously, Braden Smith is pretty good as well, but he's more of a number 2. He's not an actual number 1. And as for UConn, they don't really have a true number 1, but it doesn't matter when you have a starting 5 that is as good as UConn. As far as Dan Hurley goes, he's a great basketball coach, and there's a reason why he's been able to turn around UConn big time. You look at how Dan Hurley has completely changed the program of UConn and how he has essentially turned that school into a blue blood school. Anytime you got a guy like Dan Hurley coaching basketball, you have to appreciate greatness, and you guys have to remember that he already won a national championship last season for UConn, and that if he wins a national championship this year, guess what? He's going to win his second national championship in the last 2 years, which is something that UConn has never done in their program history. And you also have to remember that nobody in college basketball has even done that since Florida back in 2006 and 2007. That's to put context as to how long it has been where March Madness has seen a repeat winner in college basketball. And obviously Dan Hurley is a very smart guy that is very demanding of his players. And when you got a guy like Dan Hurley, he's going to get the most out of his rosters more often than not. He's been a great recruiter for UConn, and not only has he been a great recruiter, he has been a great X's and O's kind of coach. When you have that combination of a head coach in college basketball, you're going to win a lot of basketball games more often than not. That's why UConn is on the verge of winning back-to-back national championships, and they've been able to dominate their opponents in March Madness because of that. Obviously, you look at how Dan Hurley has gotten the most out of this roster, and I've been really impressed with how he has been able to keep UConn focused and not willing to settle for just being good enough. He wants UConn to play team basketball all the time. What I'm trying to say about UConn is that he is trying to turn their culture into a blue blood program where they are great all the time. Obviously, UConn is not known as a blue blood program, but they might need to be known as one of them because of the fact that if they win this title, they're going to win 6 national championships in their history since 1999, which in my mind, that should be grounds for being able to call them a blue blood program. As far as how I think this game is going to go, I think this game is going to be somewhat close early on, but I think UConn is going to ultimately pull away because they're the deeper team, and they've got guys that are very consistent with the basketball in their hands. As for Purdue, they have to rely on Zach Edey having a great basketball game while also hoping that Braden Smith is going to ball out as well, and they're going to have to hope that some of their role players is going to play really good basketball tonight, but ultimately, I don't see that happening. UConn has been the better team all year long, and I don't think that narrative is going to change now. While I think UConn is going to score 79 points on them, so I think the score is going to be 79-67. I got UConn by 12 points. They're going to win the national championship game again for the second time in the last 2 seasons. And obviously, Dan Hurley is going to be a world champion once again in college basketball. As far as what UConn fans aren't telling you about Dan Hurley, man, they're not telling you that they've got the best coach in college basketball. You can talk about Coach Cal all you want, but when you talk about great basketball coaches, Dan Hurley is the best coach in college basketball right now. It's not even really close whatsoever. So that is why UConn will win the national championship game, as they will beat Purdue by the score of 79-67. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, make shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @Dustin Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @Dustin and at Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @Dustin Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.